tumultuous union, the whirlwind romance of Oya and Shango. The air crackled with anticipation a storm was brewing. But this was no ordinary tempest. This was the day Oya, the fierce warrior goddess of the Niger River, met Shango, the electrifying god of thunder and lightning. Their connection was immediate and intense, a whirlwind of passion that mirrored the storms they commanded. She was drawn to his power, his charisma, his ability to command the very heavens. He was captivated by her strength, her beauty, her untamed spirit that rivaled his own. On a day no sky should have dared to open, the heavens cracked apart, not with rain, but with warning. Something ancient had awakened. This wasn't just a storm, it was a reckoning. Beneath the boiling clouds, two forces of unimaginable power collided, not in battle, but in love. And that love, it would drown empires and shatter the spine of heaven itself. Welcome to Folktale Cinema. Before we descend into the chaos that once shook the gods, remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Tell us, can two forces of destruction ever truly love without breaking everything around them? Because this story isn't just about gods of the Yoruba, it's about obsession, about the razor-thin line between passion and ruin, and what happens when the storm you fall in love with turns its fury on you. Before we continue, hit that like button if storms of love and war fascinate you. Comment below. Do you believe power and passion can ever coexist? Or is destruction inevitable when gods fall in love? Don't forget to subscribe, because this story is only just beginning. She came like a scream in the night. Oya, warrior, goddess, tempest. The very breath of the Niger River, clothed in wind and bone, her eyes flashing with the fury of the dead and the protection of the living. Oya didn't just command storms, she was one. They say she could peel the bark from trees with a glance, that her morning howl stirred the graves of forgotten ancestors, that she rode the winds between realms, guiding souls to whatever waited beyond. No one, man or god, dared to touch her. Until the day he did. Shango, Widor, the fourth elephant of Oyo, the living storm, the crackling rage of the skies. He walked with the weight of thunder in his chest and lightning in his veins. His voice didn't speak, it split mountains. His laugh could start wildfires. Women desired him, men feared him. But only one ever stood equal to him in power, in madness, in fire. And when Oya met Shango, the world flinched. It happened in the heart of the most violent storm ever remembered. A tempest so vast it swallowed entire villages in the dark. Oya, veiled in scarlet winds, rose from the east with blades of rain in her hands. Shango, draped in bolts of lightning, came from the west like a vengeful god looking for a war. They met in the eye of the storm, and the sky stopped breathing. They didn't speak, not at first. They didn't need to. Their eyes met, hers full of ancestral fury, his lit with chaotic hunger, and the storm pulsed around them like a living beast. Lightning kissed the rain, wind danced with thunder. And in that cataclysm, something ancient was born. A love so fierce it could never last without blood. Their union wasn't blessed. It wasn't peaceful. It was a fire that didn't warm. It scorched. Oya was no passive goddess. She didn't bend. She didn't yield. She ruled. She protected the gates between life and death. And every time Shango tried to possess her, he found his grip bleeding from the blades of her wind. And yet he kept returning. And she kept allowing him. Together they were the architects of chaos and beauty. Two titans caught in a deadly waltz. Their love as likely to birth new worlds as it was to reduce old ones to ash. But even storms have limits. Even gods bleed. And when jealousy entered the heart of lightning, and betrayal crept into the whirlwind's path, what followed wasn't just heartbreak. It was destruction. The kind that legends are too afraid to tell in full. So now you will hear the tale others buried. Of a goddess who loved too deeply. Of a god who burned too brightly. And of the catastrophe that followed. Because love, when wielded by storms, becomes something else entirely. This is no bedtime story. This is the ruinous romance of Oya and Shango, only on folktale cinema. It began as something beautiful. A spark, no, an explosion, between two forces too powerful to ignore each other, yet too wild to hold peace for long. Oya and Shango weren't just lovers. They were storms, crashing into each other with the kind of passion that either gives birth to new worlds or burns the old ones to the ground. The first time they locked eyes, there was more than attraction. There was recognition, as if they'd seen each other before time even began. Two pieces of the same cosmic blaze, both fierce, both sacred, both stubborn to the core. But let's be clear, this wasn't a quiet love. Oya was nobody's possession. She was born of the river, raised by the wind, sharpened by battle. Her soul wasn't soft, it roared like a hurricane. And Shango? He had spent his entire life commanding loyalty, fear, and silence with nothing more than a glance. Men bowed, women admired. Children whispered his name in awe. But Oya didn't bow. She challenged him. Every time he tried to lead, she walked beside him. Every time he tried to direct her, she reminded him, I am not yours to command. Her fire didn't just match his, it rivaled it. And for Shango, who had never met a woman he couldn't outshine, Oya's resistance was maddening. But it was also intoxicating. He hated her defiance. He loved it even more. They fought. Oh, they fought. Loud, messy, vicious arguments that could shake the rafters of the sky itself. Words like weapons, pride like shields. But just as intense as the fire they hurled at each other was the pull that kept dragging them back. Each time they broke apart, they found their way back, like lightning to a storm cloud. Their reconciliations were legendary, the kind of nights the stars dared not look away from, the kind of nights the land remembered long after dawn. They didn't love peacefully, they loved like war. Still beneath the chaos was something unshakable. Respect, unspoken, fierce, earned. Oya saw the ruler in Shango, the protector, the man who carried his people's burdens on his shoulders like thunder. In Shango, he saw the depth in her, the wisdom beneath her win, the sorrow buried in her reign, the way she carried the cries of the forgotten. They were kindred, not just gods, but mirrors of each other's storms. And together, they were unstoppable. They faced everything: jealous gods, natural disasters, enemies from other realms. When the land was cursed with drought, they fought the skies until rain returned. When malevolent spirits swept across villages, it was Oya's blade and Shango's axe that cut through the darkness. They stood as equals, not just in battle, but in ambition, in dreams, in love. And in that love, they found something rare: growth. Together, they sharpened each other. They became more than what they were alone. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a testimony that love, real love, is not made of ease but endurance. But love this powerful is never left alone. It happens slowly, like poison, a whisper here, a lie there. One of the lesser gods, envious of the bond between Oya and Shango, began to twist truths into shadows. He whispered into Shango's ear, softly, consistently, until doubt loomed like a bruise. You can't trust her, the voice said. She plots behind your back. She wants your throne, your power, your downfall. And though Shango loved her with all he had, fear has a way of sounding like truth when it's spoken often enough. Oya never saw it coming. One day, without warning, Shango stormed into her temple. His eyes weren't his own. They were clouded with betrayal, with heartbreak, with rage. What have you done? He thundered. Oya stood, stunned. What are you talking about? You betrayed me, he snarled. You, the only one I trusted. Her heart stopped. I would never, she began. But he didn't listen. His grief was louder than reason. He hurled accusations like lightning bolts. and with each one a piece of her shattered, until she could take no more. She unleashed everything. The sky turned black. Winds screamed across the land. The earth trembled beneath the weight of their fury. It wasn't just a fight, it was a cosmic breakdown. Lightning ripped through the heavens. Torrential winds crushed forests. Rain fell in sheets so thick, it washed away entire villages. And somewhere in the chaos, two hearts broke. By the time the storm cleared, both of them stood amid ruin, bleeding, breathless, broken. Not from the battle, but from what they had become. When the dust settled, silence swallowed everything. They looked at each other and saw the truth. They had let something sacred rot. Not because they didn't love each other, but because fear had spoken louder than faith. Oya turned away first. Her eyes no longer held fury, only sorrow. She vanished into the wilderness, her spirit howling through the winds, leaving behind nothing but the echo of her grief. And Shango? He stayed behind, surrounded by thunder, haunted by silence. His booming laughter, once the joy of the heavens, died in his throat. The land suffered. The balance had been broken. Oya's winds were no longer a guiding force. They became knives. Her rains no longer nourished the soil. They drowned it. Crops withered, rivers swelled, homes were torn from the earth. She had become something else. Not the warrior queen, not the protector, but a storm with no mercy, a woman mourning in fury, and all the while she longed for him, the one she loved, the one who didn't believe her. Meanwhile, Shango wandered, alone. A god stripped of purpose. He walked from village to village, watching the people suffer, knowing he had been the cause. He didn't speak much anymore. Not since the day he shattered the only heart that matched his own. Where once he had been a king, now he was a ghost. Where once thunder followed his steps, now only regret walked beside him. The skies still echoed with his name, but even they seemed unsure if they should praise him or mourn him. And so the world held its breath, waiting for reconciliation, for forgiveness. For the moment when two gods, broken by love, might finally find their way back to each other. But pride is a dangerous thing, especially when it lives in hearts already scarred. And yet, there remained a flicker, a chance, because beneath Oya's rage, her heart still remembered his touch. And in Shango's silence, his soul still called out her name. But whether that was enough, whether love could survive the storms they had become, that is a tale yet to be told. Once he had walked with thunder in his voice and fire in his eyes, a king whose name sparked awe and whose power carved legends into the land. But now, Shango wandered like a ghost through the ruins of his own pride. The man who had once ruled with charm, wit, and lightning now moved in silence, every step weighed down by memories he could not escape. What had become of the mighty Shango? He had lost more than a lover, he had lost a part of himself. His judgment, once razor sharp, had been dulled by jealousy. His heart, once brave, had cowered in suspicion, and his people, once thriving under his rule, now suffered under skies of endless rage. It was Oya's sorrow that fed the chaos. The winds howled not with anger, but with agony. Floods that tore down villages and rain that drowned crops were not mere acts of wrath, but cries from a broken heart. And Shango, he could not unsee it. Every destroyed home, every starving child, every sob carried by the wind reminded him this too was his doing. His soul ached. He no longer feared storms. What terrified him now was the quiet, the stillness that came when he realized how deeply he had wounded the only being who had ever truly matched him. Oya had not just been his partner in passion. She had been his mirror, his match, his storm twin. And he had let whispers from envious gods poison what they had built. So he set down his axe. not in surrender, but in transformation. The path to forgiveness, he knew, would not be paved in thunderclaps or dramatic gestures. It would be carved, moment by humility. And so Shango did the one thing gods rarely do. He began again. He returned to the villages he had once protected, not as a conquering king, but as a penitent soul. He used his power to mend broken land, to coax rivers back into harmony, to revive fields scorched by divine fury. He called the rain not in torrents, but in gentle blessings. He sat by the sick and shared stories with children who had only known him through the terrifying roar of storms. He stopped commanding. He started listening. Meanwhile, Oya remained distant, cloaked in the tempest she had become. She was not angry anymore, not truly. What she felt was deeper, colder. It was betrayal calcified into caution. A part of her wanted to watch him suffer, but another, quieter part, still missed the way he'd once made her laugh like thunder cracking open the sky. So she watched. From the edge of the winds, she observed the man Shango was becoming. She noticed how he helped farmers replant crops by hand, how he whispered prayers into rivers, how he knelt before elders and wept for their losses. This was no performance, it was penance. And slowly, the ice around her spirit began to melt. Her own transformation had been violent. Oya, once the protector of women and guardian of the departed, had become a wandering tempest, a divine storm with no purpose but to purge her pain. Trees lay splintered in her path. Oceans raged at her call. Birds no longer sang when she approached. Even the spirits of the dead whispered her name with trembling reverence. But as Shango softened, so too did the world around her. The land stopped flinching. The skies began to breathe again. The people, those same mortals who had feared her fury, began to light small fires at night, singing ancient songs in her honor. Not in fear, in hope. Hope that the Queen of Storms might return, not to destroy, but to protect once more. And so one day when the wind quieted and the rain paused mid-drop, they saw her standing alone at the edge of the forest that she and Shango had once nearly destroyed in their divine rage. It was there that he found her again. No lightning, no thunder, no screaming winds, just the soft rustle of leaves and the heavy, aching silence of two souls who had walked through fire and returned different. Shango stepped into view, not as a god, but as a man stripped of everything but truth. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't reach for her. He simply stood, letting her see the cost of what had been lost etched into his face, his posture, his silence. Then he spoke. "I believed a lie," he said, "and I let it speak louder than your truth. I let fear turn me into something ugly, and in doing so, I lost everything. I can't fix what I broke, but I can stand here in the ashes of it all and tell you this. I will choose you every day, even if you never choose me back." Oya didn't answer right away. The wind curled around them both, listening. "You didn't just hurt me," she said finally. "You shattered something sacred. You made me doubt the one thing I thought could never betray me. You made me doubt myself." Her voice was not angry. It was tired. But beneath the weariness was something stronger, the courage to feel again. "And yet," she continued, "even now, I can't deny that I still see the man I once loved standing before me. Not as a god, not as a warrior, but as a man who finally understands the cost of his power." She stepped forward, the distance closing not with haste, but with purpose. "I don't forgive you yet," she said. "I don't ask you to," Shango replied. They stood there, two broken storms, learning how to be still. It didn't happen in a flash. Reconciliation never does. It happened over moons and seasons. It happened through long silences and even longer conversations. Through shared work, rebuilding villages they had destroyed. Through whispered prayers over rivers and quiet laughter that slowly returned, like embers catching wind. The people noticed first. The rains began to fall in harmony again, nourishing, not drowning. The winds no longer screamed through forests, but danced among branches. Thunder rolled gently in the distance, like a drum beat keeping time with the earth's healing rhythm. Balance had returned. And from this balance, a new kind of love was born, not one forged in fire and fury, but in trust, patience, and understanding. A love tested by betrayal, refined by pain, and reborn through effort. Oya and Shango were no longer just titans of nature. They were living symbols of what it means to fall and rise again. Their story became more than myth. It became a lesson. A reminder that even gods can break, but it's in the breaking that they find what's worth rebuilding. So when you next hear thunder roll across the sky, or feel the wind shift before the rain, know this: it is not just a storm. It is a love story. A promise whispered between the storm and the flame, that no matter how fierce the tempest, there is always the chance for stillness after. Oya and Shango did not become perfect, but their union evolved. No longer just a whirlwind of clashing wills, it became a storm that knew when to roar and when to rest. And so, long after the storms quieted, long after the skies remembered how to breathe, the legacy of Oya and Shango lived on, not just in shrines or whispered prayers, but in the rhythm of life itself. When rain pours gently on the day two souls bind themselves in love, the elders smile and say, Oya is blessing them, remembering the day her own heart dared to love again. And when thunder rolls like laughter across the distant sky, it's said that Shango is watching, proud, knowing he chose redemption over ruin. So, their tale is not one of fairy tale perfection. No, it's more than that. It's a tale of rage and regret, of wounds that scar but still heal. A love once drowned by mistrust, pulled back to shore by honesty, effort, and time. A love not defined by how it began, but by how it endured. They remind us that true strength isn't loud. It isn't always fierce or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's in the moment you choose to stay, or return, or forgive. Because real love, the kind that weathers storms and survives its own destruction, is not about avoiding pain. It's about learning how to hold each other through it. So ask yourself, have you ever let pride keep you from making things right? Have you ever stood at the edge of a storm, not sure whether to walk away or walk back? Tell us below. Your words might just help someone else brave their own storm. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of something real, something raw, leave a comment, share your thoughts, or share this tale with someone who needs to hear it. Here on Folktales Cinema, we honor stories that echo in the soul stories of gods, mortals, love, power, and the fragile line between them. We drop new tales every single week, each one crafted to pull you deeper into the world of African legends, rich with shadow, beauty, and truth. So if you haven't already subscribed, tap the bell so you never miss when the wind shifts or when the thunder speaks again. Like this video if it stirred something inside you. And above all, keep the story alive. Because in every storm, in every silence after, there is always more to tell. This is Folktales Cinema.